Thank you for being here at the seminar, at this topic. We've been looking forward to having y'all here. And one of our prayers for this weekend was that y'all could find refreshment, that you could come and get away from normal life and be refreshed. But also, beyond that, that you could be equipped to go home and be builders in God's kingdom, wherever you are, to plug in, to serve. So I hope that happens this weekend. Rosemary isn't here, and she was generous enough to give me her notes, and she prepared the outline that's in your books. So I'll be working off of what she prepared, plus adding some of my thoughts to it. And I thank you for your grace and patience as we learn together. There is a sympathy card for Rosemary that's on the registration table in the back. If you'd like to sign your name or leave a note for her, feel free. She was looking forward to being here with y'all. So feel free to leave a note for her if you'd like. A friend of mine, who is not single, recently asked me, "So do you celebrate National Singles Day?" And I stuttered around and I don't know what I said. But she said, yeah, like it's actually a big deal. There's fireworks, there's parades, some people even have family picnics. And I didn't get it. And she said, yeah, it's July 4, Independence Day. And I laughed. Also recently, I was at a wedding where I was serving. And I overheard a conversation between some other people. They were also serving. And they said, oh yeah, we got stuck serving the old maid table. And I didn't laugh. So our topic in front of us is Indignities with Dignity. The definition of indignity is treatment or circumstances that cause one to feel shame or to lose one's dignity. And the definition of dignity is the state or quality of being worthy of honor or respect. So maybe to sort of understand what we're talking about by indignity, let's talk a little bit about some terms like words or phrases that maybe you've heard towards you, or maybe you've heard about other people that refer to being a single lady. And I would like to hear from y'all, like what are some terms that you've heard? I mentioned the old maid's table. Are there other phrases or words that you have heard? Spinster? Leftover blessings, leftovers. I've heard it referred to as being duds, like we're the popcorn that haven't happened yet. So I think maybe we all sort of have an idea of what it means when we talk about indignities, like maybe sort of a jibe in the back, or maybe an outright in your face, this is who you are. And we're talking about how do we navigate that as single ladies in a God-honoring way? What do we do with that? So that was talking about things that people say. Maybe let's talk a little bit about actions, like circumstances or experiences that maybe feel like indignities. Rosemary had listed maybe sometimes when parents find it difficult to accept the fact that you're not married, maybe relating to you as if you were 14, trying to tell you what to do, trying to be your boss. Can you think of other circumstances or actions that people direct towards you, towards other people, that would feel like indignity? And again, feel free to just say if you can think of any.
People wonder what's wrong with you. There must be something wrong with you if you're not married. What's wrong with you?
She said, sometimes people wonder what's wrong with you that you're not married. Like, there must be something wrong with you.
Being expected to be on the same maturity level or category as teenagers or very young.
Being expected to be on the same level or category as teenagers or other people who aren't married.
But if we are blooming for the Lord, we fit in everywhere.
Edna says, if we're blooming for the Lord, we'll fit in anywhere. So that would be part of the navigating. Like, how do you deal with things that come at you like this? Yeah, and we'll get there. I thought about maybe Mother's Day or Father's Day celebrations. So on Mother's Day, when all of the people your age are celebrating their children and being celebrated, it's probably not intended to feel like a shameful thing, but some people can feel left out, like, well, who am I? Who's celebrating me? Do you know what I mean? So a question that I've been thinking about, I don't know that I have all of the answers, but the question, why is it hurtful sometimes to have our singleness pointed out? Like, it feels like within the topic of indignity, there's some hurt. Like something is hurtful about it to say she is single, or to have that exposed. And I think it's good for us to take a square look at that, to really think about why it's painful for us to have our singleness pointed out. And the answers could vary to that. It could be that we were expecting to get married, and we have those unmet expectations lingering, unresolved. Being willing to be honest about them and surrender those to the Lord can be a good way forward to resolve those. Sometimes it can be we feel misunderstood when people might call us leftover popcorn, like they feel like they're labeling us. It feels like they're labeling us without knowing us. And that misunderstanding can be hard or painful. So within the question, why is it hurtful sometimes to have our singleness pointed out, I would encourage being honest with the Lord, with yourself, about your singleness, and being willing to process that. And I think that will go a long ways in dealing with indignities that come our way. All right, flipping the page. Responding to the indignities with dignity. So we talked about what the indignities are, and now we're saying, well, how do we deal with them? Some questions to ask. Do I deserve to be treated with respect? Like, have I treated others less than respectfully? Am I respectful of others in their responsibilities, in their time? Do I act in a dignified manner? Like, do I dress neatly? Do I keep myself clean? Or am I overly concerned about my appearance? Am I dignified? Number 3, do I treat others the way I would like to be treated? Do I expect special treatment? Do I carry my share of the load in groups? Number 4, do I give others a reason to treat me with indignity? So this doesn't excuse people from being unkind, but it can be good to ask, are there things that I'm doing that give people a reason to treat me this way? And number 5, do I react wrongly to terms of indignity? We can't control what comes our way. We can't control people's words and actions, but it's our responsibility to decide how we're going to navigate through that or what we're going to do with it. And do I attempt to get even? Do y'all ever try to get even with somebody when they say nasty things to you? Like giving them a cold shoulder, trying to poke them in the back and in your own way later? Or are we willing to forgive for the hurtful things that people say to us? A couple scriptures that might speak to this. In your books, 1 Peter 3:4, but let it be the hidden man of the heart, in that which is not corruptible, even the ornament of a meek and quiet spirit, which is in the sight of God of great price. I think a meek or gentle and quiet and restful heart will go a long ways in handling maybe hurtful things that come our way. And from Philippians 2, this is not in your books. I will read a couple of verses from the New Living Translation talking about humility. Don't be selfish. Don't try to impress others. Be humble, thinking of others as better than yourselves. Don't look out only for your own interests, but take an interest in others too. You must have the same attitude that Jesus Christ had. He gave up his divine privileges. He took the humble position of a slave and was born as a human being. When he appeared in human form, he humbled himself in obedience to God, died a criminal's death on the cross, to the glory of God the Father. So meekness and humility are others and God-focused. Selfishness is a default human setting. We tend to think about ourselves. Recently, our administrator, Dave, read a quote from a book, and he's not here to ask, I'm not sure what book it was, but he said, we tend to see people as vehicles or obstacles, like vehicles to get what we want, or obstacles that keep us from getting what we want. So in thinking about being humble in our relationships, when we have actions or words coming at us that aren't very honoring or respectful, to remember that this is not so much about people making me feel good or loved or special as it is serving God. Like, not trying to use people to bring us identity. Am I making sense? But being humble and just open before God, I think will go far in handling indignities. So what does responding with meekness look like? Maybe I'll give a couple that I thought of, and then I would love to hear from y'all how you have found other good ways to respond with meekness to indignities that come your way. I thought about maybe thinking more about how can I serve you instead of how can you serve me? Or said another way, do you say, here am I, serve me? Or here am I, send me? Or responding with meekness could be maybe not commenting or saying anything, but also not giving them a cold shoulder, like just kind of letting it go. All right, so let's hear from you. What are some ways that you found to respond in meekness to indignities that come your way?
This may apply a little more to what's going on inside me, why it hurts. One of the things that I think probably all of us face is that something is wrong with me, and that's why I'm not married. Like, I start to believe that. And what helped me to work through that was admitting that's true. There's lots of things wrong with me. There's a lot of things wrong with married ladies too. God is working on me, and God is working on them. And it's not about me being better or worse, or them being better or worse. It's, I am a needy person, and God has me here for a reason. So admitting that I don't really measure up, so it's okay.
Let me try to capsulize that for the rest of you who may not have heard. Lorraine said it's been helpful for her to think about, instead of there is something wrong with me, so I'm not married, to be free to admit there is something wrong with me. There's lots of things wrong with me. And there's also lots of things wrong with every other lady, married or otherwise. Is that summarizing it? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's part of meekness, is that just being honest. And then God is the answer. It's not that I have to be perfect.
Good. Any others? Number 4. What are some non-resistant responses to the indignities that we experience? So it could be things like praying for the person who said something hurtful, or blessing them in some way, taking them food, giving them flowers, maybe helping them with some work at home, but blessing them in some way. Lynette said this morning about complimenting them. Like, if you are struggling with jealousy, to compliment them on what it is that you're jealous about. So finding a way to compliment them would also could be helpful. There might be a time to mention to the person who said something hurtful to you, and tell them that what they said did hurt, and it made you feel not appreciated. Like, I'm not saying that you always need to, but there might be a time to actually confront the person and say, you know, this really made me feel this way. I forgive you. I'm not holding it against you, but I just wanted you to know. So this, number 5, is totally Rosemary. She says, shake it off. Those of you who know her can probably see her saying that. Maybe sometimes laughing at people's ignorance. Like the popcorn joke, your leftover, or your duds that haven't happened yet. Like, sometimes it's okay just to laugh about it and shake it off. And number 6, it's good for us to remind ourselves that in our humanity, we probably say things of indignity towards other people, too. Giving grace to those who are hurting us reminds us that we also need grace. And what are some ways that we can gain or regain respect? So if people aren't being respectful, or it feels like they're not being respectful, what are ways that we can work towards gaining respect? Number 1, be actively involved in your congregation. Being willing to do the dirty work. Being aware of what needs to be done. Cooking at funerals, babysitting, teaching Sunday school, cleaning the church. Number 2, be involved in ministering to the needs of others. Seeking people out and trying to be a friend to the lonely people. Helping young mothers. Are there other ideas that you all have about ways that we can gain respect or serve and be servants of God in order to build that respect? Do y'all have ideas on how we can do that?
Treating others like we would be treated.
Mm-hmm. Treating others the way we would like to be treated. Mm-hmm. She said, being totally committed, dedicated to the Lord, and just giving yourself. People will respect that when you are sold out to the Lord. Mm-hmm.
Just because we're single doesn't mean we can't host families for a Sunday dinner or something.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if we grew up in a large family and know how to cook.
Mm-hmm.
For larger groups.
Mm-hmm. Jillian said cooking, maybe for a Sunday lunch or hosting groups, can be a way of serving and blessing your congregation.
I think some of those indignities may come from, just like you said, of ignorance. And I think when they see that we're okay with the place we're at, it just makes it a lot easier for them to not bring it up because they realize that we are a whole person inside.
Mm-hmm. Lydia said, if we can be content with where we are, people will often realize that we're okay with being single. And then maybe they won't bring it up, or they'll bring it up in different ways that aren't hurtful. Mm-hmm. One at a time. Who was on this side? Grace.
Sometimes parents need adult conversation. So not only like go to people's houses and
Mm-hmm. Grace said, having adult conversations with parents can be a way of serving. There was someone else? Yes.
I think it helps us to remember that whether we're married or single or where we are in life, there will always be people that are disrespectful. And we can take that personally. But if we realize that we're not the only group that bears disrespect many times, it helps us to pray for that person because that may be an individual that is working their life with that disrespect.
Mm-hmm. Cindy said, it's helpful to realize that there will always be people who are disrespectful. And if we can gracefully take it and realize the Lord is also working on them, just like He is on us. Mm-hmm. Anyone else? All right, and number 3 is not in your books, but I would say forget yourself and focus on others. Like being humble, being meek, means that you aren't hung up on yourself and you're willing to give and to focus on others. And a couple of verses yet. The king's daughter is all glorious within. Her clothing is of wrought gold. For ye have not received the spirit of bondage again to fear, but ye have received the spirit of adoption, whereby we cry, Abba, Father. The Spirit itself bears witness with our spirit that we are the children of God. But God, who is rich in mercy, for His great love wherewith He loved us. In these verses, I see identity. As children of God, we are chosen. And our most foundational identity is that we are God's children. And if we can live out of that identity, it won't shatter our worlds if people call us hurtful names, because we have security and confidence in knowing that the Lord loves us. He has chosen us, and we are living first of all before Him. All right, so a quote from my boss, and then I'll let you go. So, a gentleman that I worked for in the past was a jolly elderly man. He wasn't conservative at all, but he was this jolly grandpa. And he always said, when you know people, you won't label them. And I think that applies to singles and to cultures, to any group of people, really. We're people. We're more same than we are different. And if we can remember that, I think it will take us far in dealing with indignities. Thank you for your time, and God bless you.